Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Oh, come on, I do that again. Good afternoon, everyone. Just checking if you're awake. Welcome, everyone, to the first day of Iterations 2025, or maybe actually the second day or the third day for some of you, who has been already here for 3 days. Of course. Second day, also a group. And who here joined the workshops this morning? Ah, okay. Nice to have you all on board. Let's see, my name is Dymphie. I'm a program maker. I host a lot of events too, mostly about visual storytelling and digital culture. This is my second time here at hosting Iterations, so thank you for asking me back. We're really looking forward to all the speakers that the organization has invited today. And yeah, for everyone who doesn't know, we're going to speak to the organizers right after this. But this symposium explores how recent technological developments empower makers and where creative coding might be heading in the future. Also, a warm welcome to everyone tuning in online. I'm going to look at the camera right now because we're also live streaming this event, and people that are following us online right now, you can also ask questions, just like the people here in the audience. If you're following us online, you can do that in the live stream. Just type a question, I can read them, and we will try to ask those questions to the speakers as well. And for everyone here in the audience, just raise your hand. After each presentation is time for a Q&A, and I will get to you with the mic. And it would be nice to talk in the mic as well, because then everyone online can hear it too. Those are just some huishoudelijke mededelingen. Let me see. What are we going to do today? Because we have actually a 2-day program ready for you. Tomorrow is also a full day with speakers ahead of us. And today we dive into topics such as the revival of the personal web, embodied and improvisational creative coding, and the fusion of ancestral knowledge with computational design. We have talks, performances, workshops like you encountered this morning. And later tonight we also have an algorithm. Before we begin, I would always like to know what we have or who we have in the audience. So I'm curious to find out, just a quick show of hands, who here is identifying themselves as a creative coder? Oh, not all of them. It's okay to come out today, yeah? Safe space. And who here is here at Iterations for the very first time? Oh, almost half of them. Really nice. Welcome, everyone. Okay, this is also a little bit of pressure, right? Because then we have to be like really good today. Anyone else? Any designers or artists that are exploring digital innovation? Or trying to find the boundaries of technology? Yeah. It's a broader perspective. And who here works also in education? Are there any lecturers, educators? Nice. Okay, so all the knowledge that you receive from us today, you also bring back to your students. Great. And finally, who is here and doesn't know how they ended up here, or were just like brought along? Hi, welcome. You're in for a treat. Yeah, we just put you in a plane and it was like, join us. Later about that more. Okay, so today's program, or actually this whole symposium, was thoughtfully curated by Vera van Seyp and Fabian van Sluijs. And I would like to invite them on stage to elaborate a little bit about the goal of the whole program and yeah, what they're looking forward to the most. So I'm actually only going to invite one on stage because the other one is with us online. So, but she can hear us. So try to applaud really, really, really loudly, okay? Fabian, join me. Vera, did you hear that?
Yes, I did.
Hi. Oh, great, great.
That's super big on screen now.
Yeah, we're standing here. You're on the screen right between us. Just curious to know, where are you located right now, and why are you not here?
I'm stuck in the US. I'm waiting for a visa for not getting deported reasons. I'm not going to elaborate much more. But yeah, I really wish I could be there. I'll join everything I can online. But I know that the great team and everyone that's been helping will make it really nice. So
Well,
I'm
you're
having
with
serious
us.
FOMO, but
Yeah, I can imagine. But thank God for the live stream.
yeah, this is a great test for it, I guess.
Yeah, and yeah, you are with us in spirit, and we also think about you. So hopefully we will see you soon again, and then the next time you're with us here in The Hague or another
Yeah.
city, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So congratulations. This year is the fifth time that you're organizing iterations. But because we also saw that we have a lot of new people here, maybe you can take us a little bit through the beginning and how did we ended up here? Who would like to answer?
Maybe I can
Sure.
start, and then Fabian, you also have something nice to say about that. We started so this is the fifth time. The first year was 2021, which, if you remember, that was like high time pandemic. I started, or initially we started this because there's a lot of creative coding festivals, but we wanted one, first of all, that was more inclusive. I've been coding. I actually went to school in The Hague at the KBK. I don't know if there's any people from KBK, but that's where I don't see
No,
any. But,
that's what I was telling you. They did listen to you and they did respond.
Good. Okay, great. And so I kind of missed going to these other events. I kind of missed a bit of representation, and I also found that the moment that there was the word, like, any sort of tech in it, it became like all these things were quite expensive. So we wanted to make something that was a bit more accessible and maybe also low entry barrier, while also really talking about like specifically how people use code or computation in their work. And so Fabian, who is on the stage, helped me a great deal. That first year I tried to organize it almost by myself, and that was like not possible. If you look around in the room, like, organizing an event takes actually so much work, and it's so nice to be able to do it with Creative Coding Utrecht. But yeah, the idea was really making something a bit more accessible and a bit more free for students, and just low barrier to enter about code, and I know that Fabian kind of shared a similar feeling, so we really connected on that. I don't know, Fabian, if I'm now talking for you and you don't agree.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, because Fabian, it's been 5 years. I guess it also, I mean, you told me like, oh yeah, it's a 2-day festival. Well, actually it's 3 days, it's 4 days. It's never ending. So you expanded the whole program a bit, right? Can you share a little bit more about this year's edition and how that also grew from that first time edition to this?
Yeah, of course. I think first of all, it's very special to be in The Hague, because when we decided to come here, it felt also like coming home in a way. First and foremost, because actually Vera, of course, as mentioned, was a student at KBK, but also for me personally, I went very often here to today's art festival, and this has played actually quite a big role in how I think about digital culture. And maybe this space especially is also very important, because when I was like, I'm not a creative coder, but more this anthropologist that is looking at creative coding practices and open source practices and how that changes the production of art and culture. And while I was doing this research, I interviewed Dimitri Nieuwenhuizen, who doesn't live anymore, but he's also one of the founders, I think, behind this space. And he also he was like part of Lust Lab. And he inspired me greatly in this research, and I think this also was feeding me to set up CCU, also as this space which is connected to the creative coding community, but organizes things in real life, although also hybrid. But these things are connected, and so this is kind of this post-digital approach that we have embraced as CCU. And as such, we've also been pushing actually what creative coding actually means or entails. And another detail about this space, this is also what you see within the program. Of course, a lot of creative coding and design practices, but also practices that focus more on how to include more than human perspective within your creative practice, and also as part of your organizational practice. And this space is actually also, we became a ZOOP last year, so we became an organization that includes more than human perspectives within our organization. And actually
more than human, yeah.
And actually the seed for this organizational form has been planted in this space exactly, I don't know how many years ago, but the people that are organizing this are sitting over there. And we were just commemorating that actually this is a special space to do it.
Nice. And also this year, you expanded the musical program. Can you share a little bit more about the motivation behind that, and also what you hope that adds to the whole program?
Yeah, so last year we were in Den Bosch, and it was a super nice venue, but they were also very strict. At 6 we had to get out, and there was no room to do other stuff. So when we decided to go to The Hague, and we thought, okay, this is the gray space, we can do everything we want. And then, and then...
And you didn't know how to stop.
This is how we roll. But that's nice that you have all these great partners here as well. So yesterday we could collaborate with Sonology. And and of course I'm also, let's say, part of the live coding community, organizing a lot of live coding events. So this is a really nice fit to, I would say, kind of is also part of what I think is what creative coding is. So yeah, thanks to the partners and also the funders, we got also the grant to bring actually all our friends to The Hague. And yesterday already was a little bit of a showcase, but tonight and today we'll see more, and tomorrow as well. So.
Can one of you explain also, because we're going to have, like, after the speakers, there's also going to be a community program in the evening. I will share more about that at the end of this session. But also the party tonight. Well, unfortunately, Vera, you have to miss it. But is there anyone who can explain to me what an algorave is? Well, we want everyone to come, right? So pitch it.
Well, it's what it is.
Yeah, I can also answer.
It would be interesting to let Vera explain it.
Sure. Okay, well, now I don't know what to say, but no, I'm kidding. I guess the difference of an algorave versus a regular rave is that almost everything is made with code, and often, or in most cases, it's live code. So like music can be made with code, visuals can be made with code, and in algorave, like the challenge is to actually make live music by writing code, which is really exciting. And like sometimes it breaks. Sometimes it works. That's sort of part of the experience, and so you can dance, but you can also do math at the same time. So that's great.
So if you're up for it, 9 o'clock tonight in the basement here at Gray Space. You mentioned partners. We have to thank a few. We said the Gray Space in the middle. We mentioned them already. There are a few other people that you want to thank and mention, right?
Yeah. This is always like the stuff you need to do. But yeah, it's part of it.
I also want to do.
Yeah. No, of course, like the Creative Industry Fund has been supporting us from the start. So thank you. Performing Arts Fund. Well, this is especially for all the live coders that are now here from abroad. This is made. This is being possible by them. Instituto Cervantes, as well. Pick the Right Fund, actually they were supporting iterations from the very first edition as well. Synology, Grayspace, Rewire, and of course the crew, the volunteers, and all the artists as well.
Last question, because we have a full program ahead of us. You already got to experience some nice stuff. What are you still looking forward to the most? Last
the
question for
Algorave,
both of you.
obviously.
The Algorave, yeah, Fabian is up for it. Vera?
Well, I'm going to follow the symposium online, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and if you have questions,
And the
please
Algorave.
put them in the chat, right?
Yeah. If you have any questions, put them in the chat if you're online, and we'll try to get them to the speakers. So yeah, we'll make sure that works as well.
Any last words from New York?
Well, I'm really sad to miss it in person, but you're in really great hands. Fabian and the whole crew from Creative Coding Utrecht are really, really great. The speakers are really great. So yeah, I'm really excited to hear the talks. And for those of you physically in the room, I hope you also dance to some code tonight and have a good time.
Thank you so much. Vera and Fabian, give them a really loud applause. Thanks, Vera. All right. Well, what are we gonna do today this afternoon? We have 3 presentations and a Q&A or a panel. And we have a break in between, so that is also good to know. And I don't want to waste actually any more time. I want to invite the first speaker. Just checking in the room, I can't see your ages. I can't, how do you say that? Estimate your ages in this slide. But who here is still old enough to remember the yellow pages or the paper phone book? Okay, oh great, enough of us. Because our next speaker is artist, designer, and programmer Elliott Kost. And together with Christopher Chalve, he created the Internet Phone Book, a printed directory of the personal web. He's here, he has prepared a presentation for today, and afterwards you can ask him some questions. So give it up for Elliott.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's really nice to be here with other creative coders. Let me just get set up. Yeah, as was said, I'm Elliott. I'm one half of the Internet Phone Book, which is this book that I'm holding, and it's the first issue. It's actually out of stock, but if you talk to me after, yeah, you can browse through the book and check it out. And I'll kind of, yeah, give a little bit of backstory to this book. The other half of the Internet Phone Book couldn't be here. He's in Athens, my friend Christopher. That's him. That's a photo of him at Naive Yearly, a talk series that he runs. I like to show this graphic because it kind of encapsulates the entire project. On the left, you see the first designs of the phone book that I came up with in April of 2024. And it took about a year to make it into an actual book. Many of you are probably print designers, and I have great admiration for print designers now. it's quite a process. And it's also kind of interesting that the cover didn't really change that much, the cover that we ended up with. And this line, is kind of the path we took that I'll lead you through. But you'll notice that it kind of winds back on itself. These projects aren't straightforward, especially when funding comes into play. How are we going to actually make this happen? These kind of questions. So there are points where we weren't entirely sure that it would become a physical thing. This is Adad Books in Athens. It's close to where Christopher lives. And I met Christopher there, in November of 2024. And I was actually there for a different reason. I was traveling around with a USB, and I was doing this project where I was meeting different people in real life and asking them to gift me a file that they intentionally wanted to let go of. And at the end of this project, it was called File Life. At the end of this project, I had like a file seance in Central Park in New York, and we deleted all the files that I carried. And I was a bit of like a physical, like I guess like a file man, carrying around these files. I wrote a blog here that was at File Life Tours, and had an itinerary and wrote about the stories of these files and also the people behind the files. Christopher and I are both part of this growing web movement called the Poetic Web. It was actually first this phrase and this idea was coined or came up with by Chia Amasola, who's a web artist. You might be familiar with their work. And they have this website, poeticweb.com, that has some artifacts. I would invite you to check it out at some point. It's really beautiful. But it also has this definition of the poetic web. The poetic web is a practice and process towards a place, a web that is more handmade, expressive, and intimate, whereas site making is a political, personal, and poetic act. Yeah, I think I would just draw attention to political, personal, and poetic act, because I think that's important and speaks to the humans behind the web. Another reason I was meeting Christopher at this cafe and bookshop, Adad Books, was to, he had this idea for what he called a map of the internet. And I thought when he first proposed this idea, I thought it was quite ambitious. How do you map the internet? It's so large at this point. But when we sat there over coffee and he described the idea, I kind of got it. He was kind of positioning it as just a map from his perspective, what he had kind of explored through following hyperlinks across the web that he was exploring. And so we started sketching some ideas. Here we are in a park in Athens. And this is what we came up with. Christopher drew this map, and it's actually just a huge SVG file with a bunch of links. SVGs are cool because they're just code, but then you can embed hyperlinks within them. And then I turned this into a website that's, it's slightly interactive. It's called diagram.website. And I'll just visit it just to show you how it works. Yeah, when you enter the website, you just are entering inside the map, and it's not an endless map. It has some edges to it, sort of like a video game. You can also change the colors of the map. This is the day theme. This one's called Silkscreen. And you can also submit websites to it. But these are all, as I said, these are all links. So you can explore them. And yeah, there's some kind of, I would also draw attention to these different borders, I guess. And you can also like toggle off those. So let's go back to here. Yeah, and if you remove the labels, then you're just kind of in this this world where there's no definition between these different web genres. We're not the first to have created a internet yellow pages, basically. This has been done over and over, and we found this out shortly after embarking on this project. This is an artist who started buying old internet yellow pages off the web, off of eBay and other places, and then embarked on a project where he made a digital archive of them. This is another, this is a web directory called Yahoo directory. And this is like in the early 2000s. I think it's quite interesting how small the web was at this point. You'll see like under art, there's only like 619 websites. Many of you are probably familiar with GeoCities, which is another web directory and way of hosting websites. And it was organized by different neighborhoods or cities. This is Gay Areas Telephone Directory, which is a directory for queer communities. This is the whole internet user guide and catalog, which, yeah, I like this post because it is really mind blowing that the whole internet could fit into a book at that point. And this is Web Design Index. My friend Kirsten gave me this for my birthday. It was actually published here in the Netherlands, and there's several different issues of it. What I love about it is it shows these kind of high-res images of websites from the early 2000s, and they're organized by like the predominant color of the website. So like kind of the background color. There'll be like a green section or blue section or and yeah, when you kind of page through this, sometimes I forget that these are really old websites. I also wanted to show a few websites that I've created just because they kind of give context to this project. This is Gossip's Web, which is a directory of handmade web pages, which I created in like 2019, and people could submit their handmade website to this. And you'll see some crossover between how the phone book is designed. And this was Gossip's Web before, websites can take many different versions over their lifespan. So this is the first version of Gossip's Web, which is just focused on artist project spaces around the world, categorizing their handmade websites. And when the websites would go down, then I would kind of cross them out of the the table, but keep their links still present. And a website that I run, another kind of web directory, is Specialfish, which is more focused around journaling and writing on the web. Each of these colors is a different profile within the website, and it still is running, and people use it every day, which I am amazed at with how much social media is so popular. So Christopher and I started to discuss how we should actually organize this phone book and the personal websites within it. We thought about different ways of categorizing it. Should it be by last name? We also started looking around the world, and standing on the train platform, the train schedule started to look like a Yellow Pages a little bit. We also looked at classic phone books and how they were organized, and oftentimes they were around profession, so plumber or painter, these kind of things. But the more that we thought about it, we really came back to this project that I just showed, the diagram.website categories. And these categories that Christopher had come up with weren't too specific. They were inclusive. They hit a wide range of different small web genres that we saw emerging. So we just went with those. And in the first few pages of the book, we printed the map that Christopher drew. I showed this before, but it's also the first mock-up that we sent to potential funders for this book. We needed a way of making this possible, so we needed some money to make it happen. We applied to a digital culture grant, were declined from that. So then that kind of took us on a different path of looking at what was around us and who was around us that could possibly support this. And there's a lot of small web companies that are doing interesting work that are between kind of personal websites or the humans on the web and these big tech companies. So they aren't extractive, they're doing nice work, and oftentimes it's 1 or 2 or 3 people behind them. So we reached out to a lot of those people, like even Typeface Foundries, and they were very on board. Oftentimes these people have been working on the web for years, since the beginning of the web, so they really understood the idea immediately. And we started to think about what these advertisements might look like within the phone book. And instead of advertising kind of being extractive or attention grabbing, we thought we could really make a different kind of directory within the phone book of these sustainable web businesses. And here are some just sketches of what those would look like. Oftentimes we would take a hand-drawn approach to creating the advertisement. Sometimes we would create it for the advertiser, other times they would send us something. And at the same time, we started designing what the actual directory would look like of the submissions that we started receiving. And I'll just show a few sketches of that. I think the most interesting thing here is trying to define what kind of metadata we would accompany each submission. In talking about the poetic web, it felt maybe important to include some sort of poetic symbol next to things, or maybe like astrological symbols of when the website was born, or maybe like the year that it was created, these kind of things, or the time zone in which the server is located, to kind of ground it in some physical space. And then I started exploring with like kind of what would it look like to sort of draw on the margins of these pages, and have it feel a little playful, or bring in some little quotes about the web in between the websites. And as far as the symbols go, I think this was a conversation, that I was texting Christopher, and we were basically talking about like, these symbols that I was talking about, and the metadata that would accompany the websites, and maybe that would kind of like give you a little hint at like what kind of website this is, how to approach it. Maybe this is more of a website that you would browse in the morning as opposed to the evening. Maybe need a coffee before it. There's a lot of text. And we kind of settled on this as sort of a design leading with the personal, or leading with the name of the author, or the person that created the website and their URL. Landscape, that didn't end up making it in, but I'm still interested in what that could be. Server time zone, that kind of grounds it, as I said. And then the size of the website, which I went through and wrote quite a lot of Python to sort of, like weigh or figure out the size of each HTML page or each website. And around the same time as we were designing, kind of in tandem, we started an open call to collect submissions. This is the form that we used. It was on the open web, and anyone could submit their website. I think one thing that I would like to draw attention to is this like short message field. We didn't really realize how important this would be to the book when we were creating it, but basically we left this field open for people to write into. Maybe they could we thought maybe they would just say their favorite color. People ended up writing a lot into this field, even though it's quite small. Here are all the submissions gathering in a spreadsheet. We got over 700 submissions. And you can also see like what we rejected in red here. We discussed this quite a lot, of like how we would work with rejections and what would the criteria be. At the end of the day, it felt like we really needed to work on just like focusing on personal websites and the people behind it. When Christopher and I sat at Adod, coming up with this idea, we really were interested in the humans behind the web. So when it came to submissions from like a studio, even though we know this printer scanner studio, we really went back to it being like a person behind it. At this time, Christopher was running this gathering called Naive Yearly, and it's a yearly gathering of poetic web people. People give talks about the web in different forms. And during those talks, I made these submission cards. And I brought them along, and people filled them out in real life. And I think just visually they're quite nice, seeing people's handwriting. And then it's also interesting how people are kind of hacking the submission cards in a way. You'll see in the top left, someone's trying to style the website or style the book. And you'd only know that that works if you knew that the book was made as a website. And in between the talks, people started like flipping the cards over and then like drawing on the backs of them, which I found really beautiful, and those ended up between the websites. And as I said, the whole book was made as a website. Here it is on my computer, and it's quite interesting that the whole, so it's all contained within this index.html, and that's only 856 kilobytes. And it's quite amazing that I could send any one of you the entire book, and it's all self-contained within this website. Here's what it looks like in the code editor. Just a giant HTML page. I would just like to kind of thank or shout out page.js. This is like an open source library that allows you to turn a website into a printed book. So I'll just show like a brief little video of that I created when we printed the book in Athens. Being predominantly a web designer, it was quite interesting to have to make these choices that you can't really undo, such as like the paper color or the thickness of the paper, these little choices. This is Christopher editing some of the pages of the book. We called a lot and just, we're on these long calls and discussing how it would look, what the size of the book might be, little things. This is his son just scribbling on pages of the book, and some of those drawings made it into the pages. And here are some photos that Christopher's partner Anna created at the end of printing, and yeah, I think they're just like the warm feeling of them, kind of imbued the entire project and made it into the design of the website and various other aspects. And then it was time to get this book into people's hands. Yeah, Christopher filled an entire suitcase of books and brought them to Copenhagen for a talk. And for the book release, our friends at Arena, they were the first to release the phone book. We sold with them first, and then with a different place after that. Meg Miller from Arena did a little interview with us on the Arena blog. I made this image for social media, but I think it is important and interesting to highlight. I think very few projects on the internet these days are not about these. So I think it's interesting to draw attention to that. And then also that it's really about the humans behind these websites, and that it's funded by these small web companies. There's also kind of a narrative right now, or theory going around right now on the internet about this dark forest theory of the internet, which basically says that the web is going into these small private communities, such as like Discord, and the open web is sort of dying, or is in a state of decay, which might very well be true with things like AI slop. But I think it's interesting to kind of have a counter narrative to that. I think the Internet Phone Book and like the 700 people that submitted their websites to it are kind of proof that people are still updating their personal websites and very much alive. And here are some of those people with their phone books. I'm part of a studio in the north of Rotterdam, and with 5 other people, artists and designers, and we had a little opening there. We had a computer there with this dial a site feature, which allowed people to dial up a website, which I'll show later. We also had the radio going, Good Times, Bad Times radio, and some of my studio mates made like a cake of the front of the cover of the phone book. Something that was nice that came out of that was like these little name tags that people started putting their number on and their URL. Here's another opening in Seoul, Korea, at a space called Bird Call, and yeah, it's quite nice to just see people gathered around IRL. And we were giving a talk about the phone book, and this was a bit of a full circle moment. This is Adad Books, and we sat there, like 1 year before, thinking about how nice it would be to have a index of the poetic web, or a book that people could page through, and how special that would be if someone just came across it in a bookshop. And yeah, it felt like a bit of a full circle moment to see it on the shelves of Dodd. Yeah, we're on a bit of a tour, and this is kind of part of that. So yeah, you can follow along here. And yeah, I wanted to kind of do something a bit of experimental. Oh, am I running out of time?
Almost, but
okay.
just
okay.
finished.
I'll rush through this then. But yeah, I wanted to ask this question, like, where do we meet the web? Could it be spaces like this, Jisoo's space Bird Call in South Korea? Or a bookshop? So I wanted to kind of do something a little interactive. We're running out of time, so maybe this will be the last thing. I wanted to ask you to make a personal website, but in our minds. And so you can close your eyes if you'd like, or leave them open, either way. And I'll lead you through it quickly. And so imagine opening a new browser window. Choose a background color for your personal website. That could be any color, or it could also just be a feeling. And will you fill your page with like elements, or leave it mostly empty? Will there be video or audio, or perhaps an iframe to another website? Who will you hyperlink? Family, friends, or colleagues? And will you have like a list of these people, or how will that look? How will it be displayed? Will it just randomly appear across the website? And how will you announce this website to the world? Or will you keep it private and kind of post quietly and have it sort of unlisted? Cool. How much time do I have? Okay. So the second part of this, you can open your eyes now. Whoop. And I would just like to show you quickly the dial a site feature in the phone book, which kind of accompanies the phone book. So every website within the directory has a number next to it, and then there's a feature online, a website, where you can dial that number and sort of be call forwarded to the website. It's also quite nice to manually enter a full URL, but makes it a bit more accessible. And so I would ask you to just choose like a number between 1 and 737. And hold that number in your mind. And then you can take out your phone. And you can open your mobile browser. And you can visit internetphonebook.net. And yeah, click this. Somebody's already doing it, but you can click this dial a site link in the navigation. And you'll see something like this, like a telephone on your telephone. And if you turn on the volume on your phone, we could all hear each other dialing, which is kind of fun. And you can dial the number that you randomly came up with and click visit, and you'll get a random personal website from this book. Cool. There's lots of other things that I would like to talk about, but I will, yeah, there's many other talks, and I don't want to take too much time. So, yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, feel free to, oops. Yeah, thank you so much. And feel free to call us at these numbers or ask me to browse through the phone book later. And yeah, thanks for having me.
Elliott, I'm glad you took some more time, but I didn't want to. I wouldn't have wanted to miss all the beeps from the audience. And this is also a good reminder to update my own personal website, because I think I haven't touched that one since 2016. So it's about time. Who still has a personal website, by the way? Half of us. Okay. By the way, if you have a question from the people online, if you have a question, put it in there, because then I might still be able to ask it. Elliott, I have a question, and then I go to the audience, because you almost reviewed. Well, you included 736 entries, I believe, and you reviewed even more. Is there anything you could say? Because you looked at all of them, any patterns or surprises? Yeah, what did you notice in the way people present themselves online? Are there any similarities or also?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean,
so take it out if you want.
Yeah, I think a pattern that we saw consistently. I mean, there's a few different kinds of websites that maybe people go to when they're creating a personal website. Sometimes they feel a little like a business card, like a one-pager, like this is who,
just
who
need a
I
landing
am,
page, that's it.
and this is what I do. I think something that I've been interested in and kind of a proponent of, well as my friend Laurel, who wrote an essay about this, which is actually in the phone book, about like what a website can be. And yeah, I would recommend reading it. It's also online on the Creative Independent, but it basically explores like the other forms that personal websites can take. Like, can your website be like a house next to a river? These more like metaphorical or poetic ways that a website can function. Yeah, so we saw a few of those, which was quite beautiful, and I think that maybe speaks to more of the poetic web aspect. And I think maybe one of our hopes is that people will explore this directory, find different poetic websites, and be like kind of inspired to update their personal website or make it something into more than just like a portfolio or a business card, these kind of things. But that's also totally fine.
Yeah,
like
well, you might have inspired some people today. Is there a question from the audience? No one? One? Wait, I take. Yeah, I know, but I go to the audience first because I was still waiting for the question because they said, I have a question, ... I know. Anyone? Yeah. Hi, what is your name and what is your question?
Hi, my name is Casper. First of all, congratulations with this beautiful project and finishing it and
Thank you.
Crafting this. The feeling that I get really from this project is that you have a deep appreciation for the craft of like creating spaces, digital spaces. And I was wondering while you were speaking, do you also have like a fascination for the craft of, visiting these places? Is that maybe also an intention of the book? Like, how can you be a craftsperson as someone who is, exploring the web and like browsing it and wandering around?
Like physical spaces or the websites?
The web, yeah.
Yeah. No, I like that it's kind of ambiguous whether. I think that, is nice how websites can also be these kind of physical spaces sometimes. I think, I think craft is important when it comes to web, but it's kind of sometimes, it's strange to talk about. It's a little odd to talk about in terms of code, like when is code handmade? And is it ever, really? But I think how I've been thinking about it is like the feeling in which websites have. And another project that I run called HTML Energy is kind of about that. When a website has HTML energy, you can kind of just feel it, when you visit it. Sometimes there'll be some like bugs in the code that you'll see expressed in the browser. Other times it will just be sort of unstyled. A little bit like there's a hand behind that website and it wasn't just generated or a template. thanks for the question.
I have a question online from, let's see, Eric, I think their name is. Thanks for the talk, loved it, and already excited to read into the book. And the question is about the term poetic, because you use that a lot in your talk, poetic web. It comes up in relationship to coding or the web a few times already. Why do you think that it's used so often to describe websites that are the medium and message at the same time, as opposed to using the term artistic or others?
I really like this term poetic that Gia Amasola kind of came up with, because I think it describes how I see the web. I come from like an arts background, and I also think making websites is so much about writing, and it's an active writing. So there should be kind of a poetic form of it, I suppose. And before that, before Gia kind of came up with this term, there wasn't really a way of describing these sorts of websites or these kinds of websites. Like the only term was like brutalist, maybe. And that didn't really fit what me and people around me, I felt like what we were making was a bit different or more about like writing. Yeah.
Okay, nice. So next time at an event like this, and I ask who here identifies as a creative coder, I can actually add poet as well. All right. Elliott, we're running out of time, so unfortunately I can't ask you any more questions, but you will stick around, right? We can ask you during the break more about the phone book and your other projects, aren't we? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. My last question then is, if anyone wants to get a hold on the internet phone book, are there still copies available?
Unfortunately, no. Oh. So it's sold out. We reprinted it because it was in demand, and that also sold out. But we're working on an issue 2.
Oh, really? Because it's quite a radical gesture to even make one. So, but you're going to make another one.
Yeah, there's enough interest in it, and we're still interested in it, and we're also interested in these physical spaces, like Bird Call, for example, in Korea, and we want to kind of visit those spaces, talk to them. Also the bookshops that we're selling through, and make more of a relationship with those physical spaces and a connection to the web.
Nice. Okay, so everyone, update your personal websites, and then you can submit into the next round.
Yes.
Thank you so much. One more applause for Elliott. Thank you so much. Okay, wait. I'm already gonna add this mic here to prepare for the next speaker, and maybe we can ask them already to set up the laptop. Let's see, Rox, where are you? Oh no. Rox, yeah. Come. Because they are still gonna cheer for you, but then you can already plug in. Yeah. Okay, because we have a next presentation for you. But first, who would like to actually, if they knew about this project before, who would have sent in a website, their website, to put it in there? Yeah. Okay, Elliott. So there are fans. So there is a. You already have a few submissions. Do you need any help?
Oh no, I'm okay.
No. You're good. Okay. Then I'm gonna see if I can do the intro a little bit longer. How's the energy, by the way? Yeah? Ooh. Okay, wait a minute. I really have to check this one. Okay, so scale 1 to 5. 5 is the highest level of energy. 1 is the... You can also participate at home. Yes. So level 1, who can still... how do you say that? Who can still level with level 1? You're okay? Everyone, I hope, right? Level 5? No. Level 2? Level 2 is also still okay? Yeah. Level 3? That's average level. Yeah, you're feeling good. Okay, level 4. Now it's getting harder. Okay, oh. Come on, I expect you to be level 5. Level 4? Yeah, still present. Who has level 5 energy in them? Okay. 1. Please clap loud for our next speaker, because I'm going to introduce them. Joining us all the way from Los Angeles. Yes.
Okay.
we included a plane flight this time. Yeah. Roxane Harris, also known as Rox, is a new media artist, researcher, and musician programmer whose work centers improvisation, transparency, and reclaiming computation as an embodied practice. Rox, are you ready?
Yeah, I
Yeah?
think so.
Yeah?
I mean,
Well,
let's do it.
then give her the loudest applause you gave today. Rox.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, as you heard, I do some live coding, and as I was figuring out how to structure this talk and think about it, I tend to do what I always do and just do it on the fly. So that's kind of how we're going to do it today, as is the best way to do it. So thinking about my principal concerns for what I wanted to share today, it felt the most right to kind of just travel through and feel like what fills in the space as much for the 30 minutes would work. So to start, I titled the talk Decoding Tendencies, Encoding Intentions, because my work has constantly been a recursive practice, a practice that turns on itself, revisits itself over and over and over again, which I feel like is really fitting for iterations here today. I think the best way to start even is going back to the beginning, why I was even here. Because earlier it's like, who doesn't know why they're here and how they got here? And you know, I still don't know if I'm at the core of that answer. I think I constantly just keep digging for it and you know, the singularity that you'll never reach, you know, if anyone's a fan of black holes. And to give some context, and I think the best way that I've been able to stay connected to this kind of practice that can be very nebulous when it's lost in the abstraction of technology is just talking about ourselves and our own personal connections to it and how we got here. I was born to Jamaican immigrants in the most oversensitized city in the planet, in my opinion, New York City. I have an older brother who's 7 years older than me and a younger brother who's 4 years younger. And both of them, you know, growing up, because my brother was 7 years older, he kind of was able to really get the landscape out. You know, I feel like he really got the first child syndrome really out. And I think my parents thought they had figured it out by the time I got here. And so when I got here, I definitely was like a really good sibling. You know, I think I didn't realize it, but everything I ended up liking was all the stuff that my older brother was already doing. He had I don't know about any of y'all out there, but he had all of the Yu-Gi-Oh cards, all of the legendary, all of the Pokemon stuff, all of the anime. You know, I grew up around, you know, Atari, Dreamcast, Nintendo 64, already in there. And then every time a new console came out, sorry, PC gamers, I was always a console person. We got all of the things from there all the way up to, you know, current generation, PS5 type stuff. Also, PS5, sorry. I know that there's no more Xbox PS5 wars really anymore, but, you know, it was a big part of my journey. Why am I talking about this? Because I was player 2 for a long time. When my hands were big enough, I got handed a controller to, you know, accompany my older brother, and I was immediately, since he was so much older than me, it was one of the first ways that we were able to really connect and spend time with one another. And, you know, despite our big size differences in this virtual world that we shared, it was like I was able to be on a level-ish playing field. And sure enough, because I was started much earlier, and he, you know, I feel like he didn't realize what he was doing when he handed me a controller. Very quickly, I became player 1. You know, beating him, whooping him. And by the time that, you know, the younger one was born, it was over. You know, it was my favorite thing ever to do. And I loved all of the things about the video game, the concept art. I collected all the concept art books. I loved fighting games, racing games, all the Naruto games, all of the Gran Turismos, all of that stuff, Hot Wheels. You know, I followed anything that had adrenaline. Adrenaline is what always kind of kept me in, anything that kept me in a flow state. And I wouldn't, know those words until later in life. I wouldn't describe it that way. But those were things that I was always drawn to, at least from these video games, and how they're able to, this interactivity was able to allow me to connect to my brothers, but also just give me a sense of agency that I don't think I would have had just disconnected from, I don't know why there's no visuals, but we'll work on that. Disconnected from why it's so why I'm not, sorry, give me 1 second. Why it's so disconnected from, that's something that's not super disconnected from the physicality that I was doing. Somehow I never felt that different, or that I was in a virtual world, or now the terminologies that we talk about now. It's plugged in right here. Yeah, no worries. I got you. But yeah, I tended to just really, then it spilled out into my life where I gamified everything, all the homework assignments, all the things going on. And I realized, my biggest dream was to become a video game developer, before I realized, EA and, even the indie scene, just like how they all get treated and everything. And I realized the most important thing to me was interactive experiences, engaging experiences, just being in that flow state. Thank you. Thank you. And every time I think about why live coding, why am I here, I just go back to at least that initial kernel state. My older brother already having this existing practice, me being born into that, and really just identifying with that because it allowed me to connect with my siblings in a place where, I didn't have a lot of that. Now, as I'm trying to figure out why I'm here, how I've gotten here, how am I going to continue to develop my practice, this decoding tendencies part comes in, where I'm revisiting all of these past things that I just naturally did, and seeing what I can glean from it, seeing there's an absorption mode I tend to go into, and where I'm listening, I'm deep listening, I'm getting all of the information in, and then there's a production mode where everything's flowing out. I'm just doing, that I can't even take anything in. And those two things kind of are what I describe as the decoding tendencies part and the encoding intentions part. Now that I have a visual to kind of ground it a little bit with y'all, and with a little bit of, is this also helping? For the audio? Oh, Oh, you had to switch it out? Okay, cool. This was working earlier, guys. It wasn't just... So was the video. Yeah, so was the video, too. Yes. No worries. We got you. Okay, thank you. Let me see what... I forget which side this keeps switching. Yeah. No, I'll take a break from talking in a second, just to transition and gather myself. But yeah, I named the talk after decoding tendencies and coding intentions because this kind of journey, and I'll kind of revisit in a nonlinear way and just keep peppering in parts that are the reasons what led me to create this class at SFPC, which I'll focus on right now. The School for Product Computation, which has a base in New York City, but has a flurry of online courses also available for people across the world. And I was privileged enough and happy enough to propose and be able to teach and share, really, my work in class with so many people for this past summer, and I get an opportunity to do that again for this winter. So these are kind of some of the classes. I'll click through here so you get more context while I'm talking about it. But I'll probably bounce around and continue to explain this. I want to try to show some stuff, maybe get a live demo in here depending on how much time I have left, and show some of the work that I've been doing. But I've been live coding for about 3 years. Fast forwarding and slightly, just to not have the point that I was talking about before completely disconnected about the video games, was that I was talking about concept art and the artistic side of building those experiences, that storytelling aspect, but then also the computational side of actually programming the logistics and the feel and the energy behind the punches, the energy behind the drifts, how it feels, like how those things kind of connect. And I've kind of, in my own way, maintained that energy throughout everything that I've done throughout my life, I've found. And that's what I kind of hope to do with this talk today, but things like this class. Feel free to check it out more here, and I'll definitely return to it. But I think just in order for me to get a little break, and drink my water, I think a way to introduce my work and get in a little bit of the video stuff, like what is live coding? If not, actually, good question. Who's going to the Algorave later? Can I get a share of hands? Hell yeah. So you're gonna see some of that later. You're gonna see you're gonna see a video of me doing it now, just for a little bit. We're gonna just share it to ground this conversation, or what will be a conversation later. And I hope more conversations with y'all individually after this. But thankfully in the Algorave, you'll actually see it live and experience it, which is a completely different thing. In fact, we have Shar Styles in the back, who is also going to be playing in the Algorave, who the first time that what we're going to experience now is kind of the medium in which when I was first finding out about live coding, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. I can only see it through the screen, just but recorded performances, and imagine what it was like to experience it live. So y'all will get the privilege of doing that tonight. But and I did that for like a couple months. And then I mentioned Char because I took a train down, and train down to New York just to see, hey, what's this live coding about? I need to see it like in front of my face. And that's how I met and started being in the live code scene. But let me click around here. I know it's going to play immediately when I click it, so I'll just preface it by saying that this excerpt that I'm about to share was from an impromptu performance that I ended up doing at Art Blocks Marfa not too long ago. And I remote streamed from my apartment into the back of a truck, if I believe correctly. Yeah, in the back of a truck with a bunch of generative art in it, and people were just hanging out, and those are the vibes. But I had no idea prior to like 20 minutes of the performance where I'd be or what context I'd be playing for, anything. I just knew that I was gonna live code for a little bit, and I ended up improvising live coding for 2 hours straight to give some context. So this long video, we're not gonna watch it all. This video is 2 hours long, so I really, if you're interested, I would love to hear people's thoughts if, you end up watching it later. All right, enough talking for me. All right, let's play some of this. I'll let this play for a little bit, and let's see if we can get a higher resolution. Like, come on, let's see the code, let's go. Okay, I'll let this play. If we can get some sounds, and that's because I gotta change it. Sound people, we gotta change stuff all the time, all the settings. You see how many sound devices I got here? Exactly. Okay. Can we turn that up, please? I'll pause it there for now. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And I love showing stuff like this because I could talk for hours about all these kinds of things. It's a little hard in this context. It's like one direction. But yeah, even just trying to ground, like decoding tendencies, encoding tensions, like that's so it can be all in the air. But grounding it for me, I feel this, and because I was so in it in that moment, I can remember how it feels to like actually code it, and like I can remember like the flow, almost like similar to how if a jazz musician was able to remember, you know, a solo and be able to transcribe it and play it from by ear, learn it by ear. I can remember kind of what I was intending to do. I remember like after when I hit a point, I can remember, oh, I'm trying to explore this idea, and then I can see where I was going with it. Here, I have to remember the microphones over here. Here particularly, I entered my own flow state because my principal concern was building these patterns that can flow and iterate on each other and have these there's patterns and these little, I like to call my parameters little switches, little touch points. You know, when you have MIDI controllers, you can see physically the knobs and the buttons and all those things, and those are in front of you, pre-programmed. You have a domain, a range of possibilities in front of you that you can see that is, you know, it still takes a lot of work to exhaust those possibilities, but they're still, you know, they're still like limited to what you have. Here, I can add and remove and build buttons as I go, and all of these code things, you know, I love kind of working within the constraints and the medium of the code, and could talk about that for a long time, but I do like step outside of that a lot, and I haven't even talked about it all yet. But, you know, here I love when those parameters, those touch points, those switches can kind of cascade down through the program and make these wide-reaching changes, these small little parameters, just a number, just a decimal change here, just a difference between a 0.1 and a 0.01, just adding that extra zero, and how it completely changes the energy of the entire composition. I scaffolded this and built this kind of live. Even just to give an extremely short example, we're here like 30 minutes in, and this is how it started in the beginning, you know, kind of situation. Just very like chill, you know, and somehow I kind of went from there and just modified it into a completely different direction by the time I was done. So you're gonna get to see a little bit of that tonight. But I would say even this particular thing was a practice of iterations in itself. So I think to maybe help ground a little bit more of what I'm trying to do here, I think I prepared some links that I wanted to like hop around and give more context, like who am I? What am I doing here? And just kind of have it up a little bit, because I'm a little frazzled by the beginning aspect. Let's see if it's, come on, can you open? Oh, okay, great. It's definitely, I think, even getting back to what I initially said about what can I talk about in this talk, I think I've done and existed and done this live coding practice in so many different contexts, from museums to tunnels to bars to you know, the side of a river. You know, there's so many contexts in which I've been able to take this laptop or other laptops and plot myself and exist and make music myself or make music with other people. You know, in terms of more formally, you know, I studied at, you know, computer science and music at Yale University as separate disciplines, completely separate disciplines. Did not have the intention, didn't even start with that. I thought I was gonna go hard science, do computer science and mathematics, but I missed the music part because I didn't even mention it yet. But aside from the video games part, you know, being Jamaican, that kind of comes with a bunch of different cultural aspects, including music and having an appreciation and love for music and musical patterning and the call and response and just things that are just embedded in rhythms and dancing. And I mean, maybe I'll do a little bit of that up here too, I don't know. But that, parallel, there was a lot of, when I was growing up, parallel practices that I was building. So with the video game stuff just kind of happening as this like form of play that was happening, and not parallel play, like direct like conflict play with my brothers. At the same time, I was developing this jazz, like classical practice with a saxophone, a very physical, physical breath work, embodied kind of way of making music that when I started, getting more deep into the computer science aspect of things, I lost the time and ability to really go deep into that practice that now I'm trying to revisit. But, these are all things that I hope that I'll be able to talk to and pick apart by people as time kind of goes on. But near the end, again, this talk is very nonlinear, but near the end, I ended up converging back into computer science and then music, adding that back in. I just wanted to learn music theory, but I was like, oh, there's electronic. I started learning about electronic music and DAWs, and I think my first DAW was like Logic, and then Reason, and then I finally fell into Ableton. And there's a lot of really cool things about DAWs and the linear way you're able to lay out and see everything and, still experiment. And they've added so many things that you can just do live acts with. But I like how modular, or I didn't get introduced into computer music until way later into my practice or time at Yale. And even then, I wasn't aware of how it existed outside of an academic space, outside of academia. I didn't see people talking about it. I didn't see people, dancing to this kind of music or anything. And so when I learned about, places happening, having this kind of thing, algo raves, like live stuff going on in Live Code NYC, I just started saying yes to everything and doing things. And there's some kind of articles out there that I think I linked in my arena that I was gonna click through, but I've been just trying to, basically with this decoding tendencies part, figure out and kind of branch together all these different things and components that have kind of cross-sectioned my life and why am I interested in things, why am I drawn to these things, and kind of try to do that to better serve and understand myself and then be able to have connective tissue that connects me to others. So there's a couple, and I talk about my family and that video game aspect a lot, as you'll probably see in some things. So maybe the next thing I'll do, just to like ground it a little bit as well, is, and looking at time and stuff, I think how I'm feeling is the best thing I want to do. On that note, is there is a piece, and it's actually, I mentioned like I found live coding near the end times of my studies at Yale, and for 2 years I was just live coding. Making, cat sitting in exchange for like, housing here and there and, mucking about New York, trying to figure out what I'm going to do next and seeing if I can really do this live coding thing for a bit. Being inspired, meeting people that are much older than me, doing this thing, invested in this thing, and seeing like a genealogy of people just investing in this practice and just wanting to be a part of that. So now, situating what I'm about to share, I am currently in my second year in the Design Media Arts MFA program at UCLA, which is now a 3-year program, so I have 1 more year left there. So going from New York to Los Angeles, you can ask me, which is better, New York or LA? Or, I know this is, but people end up asking me that anyway. But this particular piece of writing that I produced was at the end of, it's kind of funny, the SFPC class came out of me doing an assignment where it asks you to imagine a syllabus that you would want to teach if you wanted to teach people. And what I ended up writing is what I proposed to SFPC, so now I have the class. And this particular thing that I'm going to share with you today is an unpublished piece of writing, a work that I want to read some, a little not too off the dome, but I want to read, in connection to what I'm talking about, read some excerpts from some of my favorite passages that I was able to write. Because trying to get all these ideas down into paper is a lot of work, and I think some of the ways I was able to articulate that in this paper made me feel real good. And so I want to share that with y'all today. And if there's any interest in reading the paper, I'm happy to send the PDF or talk to people about it later. But let's see. And I was gonna do a PDF version, but then I was like, I think it's just better if I can click around and highlight and do this stuff. So I digged around for the actual file because I couldn't find it. My live coding practice exists at the intersection of music improvisation, computational arts, critical media theory, and performance art. Live coding, digitally fabricating, constructing, and modifying operations in real time serves as connected tissue spanning my persistent interest. It collapses composition, execution, and performance into a single act, engaging with notation as a living system that can recursively modify itself. Oh, I love that I'm consistent. So I love that I still feel this way. This radical compression of traditionally separated activities where creation happens simultaneously with its realization challenges conventional understandings of the creative process. This paper traces the genealogies, this is what I'm attempting to do, the decoding tendencies part and the encoding intentions part being still the live coding, still the act of practicing, still the act of doing, traces the genealogies informing my practice and positions live coding as a critical engagement with both technology and performance that challenges dominant paradigms of creation, time, and technological transparency. By examining these interconnected lineages, I aim to articulate how live coding functions not merely as a technical discipline, but as a comprehensive philosophical approach to artistic creation in the digital age. The notation in live coding serves as a threefold purpose: syntactic structure read by interpreters, visible performer actions projected to the audience, and artistic output manipulated through the live process. And I even think while I'm talking, it's kind of a vibe if I just do that. When creating music through live coding, I experience what Emma Crocker terms kairotic notation. Notation produced simultaneously with the experience it articulates, capturing opportune timing, suggested by the Greek root kairos. Unlike traditional competition where notation precedes the performance, live coding collapses these phases into creation through execution, where both the code that you're seeing as it's running is both representative of the present state of what you're hearing, the past of what you've heard, and the future, as I'm typing, of what is to come, to put it in a little bit more, other perspectives. This simultaneity transforms conventional separations between creation and execution into an embodied practice where thinking occurs through making. Through this critical engagement, I aim to reimagine relationships between humans and machines, creation and execution, and individual expression and collective understanding. And just to nitbit a little bit of the different sections I separated into just for me and to give a preview, because I won't go through all of it. I talk about notation and performance, embodied computation, some of the lineages. I had mentioned the jazz stuff, critical mirror lineage, black electronic music, and performance art. And I'll only read a couple more because I think I'm just going to the tail end. But I think this is probably maybe the last bit that I really want to read, going back to the adrenaline notion, and even another part of myself that I hadn't mentioned. I've gone through at least, decoding tendencies, which I think has been this entire talk, and you're seeing me live kind of figure that out, is, the video games aspect, the jazz aspect, and really athletic, physical person. If you can't, tell, I like to move around. Love track and field, if you couldn't guess, because I'm a Jamaican, so 100-meter sprinter, I will race anybody. If you are down to race, down to do it. But I'll mention these last two things, and then I think that's how I want to maybe end my talk. Yeah. My experience as a sprinter has profoundly shaped, and let's bring her back. Great. My experience as a sprinter has profoundly shaped my approach to live coding and my perception of time during performance. This connection between physical exertion and computational practice might seem tenuous at first glance, but embodied knowledge transfers across domains in unexpected ways. These dual cultural threads of athletic performance and improvisational sound creation have intertwined throughout my development as an artist, providing complementary frameworks for understanding how the body engages with time under pressure, which, if anyone's trying to code in front of people live, off the dome art making is heavily valued in oral dominant traditions like those of the Caribbean, specifically Jamaica, where my parents immigrated from, a culture highlighting both sport and music. Now, this is the last one. The the physiological experiences of sprinting provide a framework for understanding my engagement with life coding as an embodied practice. Sprinting creates a state where reaction time feels distorted and decision-making becomes instinctual rather than deliberative. The body floods neurochemically, releasing adrenaline and all of these other things, heightening alertness but potentially narrowing time perception. Events may pass in slow motion or a blur. Like, I feel like time is moving really slowly right now. Similarly, during live coding sessions, time feels dilated during performance time, and I partially warg out of my body, becoming only my perceptors, screen light imprinting my eyes, keycap sensations on fingertips, and vibrations rattling my eardrums. These intense short efforts feel subjectively longer, partly due to the brain's heightened arousal and over-encoded sensory detail. This practice of navigating these altered perceptual states informs my understanding of what Blackwell et al. In the Live Coding User's Manual book, I'll just shout out, describes as time criticality in live coding, the way it operates both within and outside conventional time, expressing multiple temporalities simultaneously, which gets back to the part I was talking about, collapsing of time. And I'll end this whole tidbit where, and allow for questions, and, you can see I can go on forever about this. I recently was taking some boxing classes, and I wanted to. I'm gonna have to do it and step away from the microphone for a bit. But when I'm live coding, I can't necessarily show you what it feels like, but how I feel like I want to make people feel sometimes with the music is a little bit like. It's a little like sharp percussive things going on. I want you to feel every single, everything from your fingertips to your toenails to everything in my body is kind of focusing on exactly what's happening with the screen light and everything. And, I want to emphasize, even with this last, show, which I'll be doing tonight as well with a webcam, and I didn't know if I'd have time with all the setup and everything to do it, it's important to show the cognitive and physical dimensions of the code, especially because we're always like, it's just a laptop, what are they doing behind there? What's going on? And I think the decoding tendencies and coding intentions part of it all is just to add more language to that, build language around the work and build appreciation, and also just more space and for us to share kind of why we're here and what we like doing about it. So yeah, thank you so much for having me.
So much, Roxane. Wow.
I see this playing.
Well, we asked for creative coding, and this is how creative it can get.
It can get pretty
I want
creative.
to ask you to move a little bit
Yeah.
to this side, because then we can step a little bit more in the light.
Yeah.
You can also hold the microphone with your hands if you like.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, if you didn't found a reason yet to come to the Algorave tonight, here is one. By the way, your ticket is already included in your ticket today. So with that wristband,
Please
you
come and dance.
You can,
Dance
you
if
can
you
come
come.
and dance.
Dance when you come.
Wow. By the way, if there are any questions online, put them in the chat already. Is there anyone in the room here that has a question for Rox? Hey. What is your name and what is your question?
Hi, I'm Jemre.
Hi.
Hi. My question is, you mentioned taking up boxing now, and then when you were describing how that, in relation to how it feels to be live coding for an audience, I was struck with how you're thinking of the body of the people who will be listening. Mm-hmm. So do you also really sense this connection with the crowd and how you would be affecting them while you're live coding, or do you feel it as a solo experience, or what is the threshold there?
Yeah. Does that influence your performance?
It needs to be a call and response. It needs to be a call and response. Everything that I build, whether it's a completely from scratch performance or I'm at least working with some introductory scaffolding, it's all about building these call and response structures. What you'll see, at least, everyone live codes differently. And live coding is such a wide and expansive term. Even this conversation, even me navigating this talk was a form of live coding. We could talk about that. But in terms of, more traditionally what we're talking about, I I would like to dance to it too. You know, I need to bop. Like, part of the reason that I don't just have my hands and I have me bopping, it's like, how are you supposed to move if I'm not? You know, how, like if I wasn't controlling it and trying to like move and make it shake, you know, I'd be out there like, you know, doing everything too. So I do really care about that, at least in my music, and that's a principal concern. Whether I'm going from, you know, the ambient kind of light moments, kind of making things sway, or just really trying to have those percussive moments and hits that kind of like ebb and flow and have that. I want my pieces to feel algorithmic but organic and alive, and I think that's really important to in these coded structures that can feel very like on the grid. You know, the part, at least for me, of the human, and you know, again, trying to find the language, is injecting that organic bit, making these interventions to kind of break the grid and make it, you know, make it kind of sway. So yeah, I definitely think about it and building these little call and response systems. And once I find something I like, I stick with it. And especially if people, you know, if you cheer and I see you moving and things, you know, I'll keep it playing for a little longer. You know, I know I want definitely to answer more questions, but I've been put in positions where I've been told that there's going to be dancers at the like perform like there's going to be just a dancer while I'm live coding, and I'm like, okay, so I guess you're going to be improvising. And I watch the dancer and I see what they're kind of vibing out on, and I kind of try to wait, and if they're like doing a spin, I try to like at the end of their spin like kind of change and do something and kind of respond and do that. And yeah, I could talk about it for a bit. But
so this is
definitely
also an
1000%.
assignment for us, because we built the space together tonight. So show your best dance moves,
show your
right?
best dance, yeah.
Okay, any
Any other
more questions? Not yet? There's one. Yeah. Hey, what is your name and what is your question? Wait, let me see how I get to you. There you go. I give you the mic.
It's not a super deep question, but at a rave, then sometimes you bring in the classics. And I saw Super Smash Brothers, and it has awesome soundtracks. So I was curious if you ever thought about bringing in those samples.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because that's the thing, in video games, those punch effects, you know what I mean? Like, all those action effects and those things were curated, built, like to have that, you feel the impact when it's happening. That's exactly what I want you to feel. Whether it's like a traditional game sample that you'll recognize and react to and have that nostalgia moment, be like, oh yeah, like, that's when like Link does that move in Super Smash Bros. Or like, Falcon Punch, and it's like, goes like crazy. Like, I think like, you know, from that more obvious standpoint, for sure. But even in the more textural music that I build, like I want to evoke the same effect. So 1000%. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't have questions from online.
Sure.
Just like, oh, the music is banging, and I to Jamaica. So we have fans. If there are no questions from the room, I have a question. Any last chances? No? Okay, then I go, because also the way you look at coding, or actually what possibilities would open up when we look at programming or coding specifically more as a choreography or as music? Because I can also imagine that does something with developing certain skills that you also bring to other projects.
Can you rephrase the question just slightly for me? Just in terms of like my
what possibilities
coding
open up when we think of coding more like a choreography or like music?
Oh yes, it. I think I'll answer this by saying, you know, I made that syllabus and then I offered it, and I was like, you know, yeah, sure, I'll teach a class. By the way, it's an online Zoom class. That's very hard. And even though people write really exciting, like, oh, I'm so ready and I want to do this, once you get in that room, it's like, ooh, like everyone's like, oh, I'm scared. I think that's the biggest thing, like, sometimes I get. People are scared of code, or even just seeing on the thing, it's like intimidating. And I think what I want to emphasize, and especially with the course, I'm framing it as notation. It's just another form of notation and another medium to build a system, and it just is a way that works with my mind, and it allows me the flexibility to kind of build these kinds of things, and then just divorce it from this idea of this abstracted away, like unreachable like thing that like we can't have a conversation about. Like, I think sometimes when we look at code or, you know, I think there's this freeze moment because we've been, the conventional connotations surrounding code and computer science, even computer science education, which I have a lot of opinions about, really separates us from the doers and from the haves and have-nots, from the you can code and you can't. And I really, really hate that. And I think I want to bridge that gap and just have those kinds of conversations where it's like, yeah, you don't have to live code. I'm not going to convince you to try to, you know, do this medium. But what I do want to convince you is to dance, you know, and appreciate kind of what I'm doing and just the same way that I want to appreciate someone who's doing a live hardware set or doing a DJ set. This is another form that's building a sense of virtuosity and another way of doing things, and I just kind of want to add to that. So I think that's the kind of possibilities it kind of opens up for just more conversations, more understandings, and yeah, that's how I'll answer that.
Yeah, you did mention the online Zoom classes because the classes start again in January.
Yes.
I saw it was online. Is there a possibility we could join?
Not this session. I just finished.
Not yet?
Yeah. But if they invite me back, then yes, of course, yeah. But also, you can just talk to me. Yeah, you know, it's more of a yeah. But even here or just online, and like, I really. I think I put myself out there and then I agreed. It's not like they forced me to do it once I did it. I was a little anxious, but I think I was yearning for just a place to talk about my work. There's not enough places trying to talk about like these elements of this practice or even code or trying to bridge these gaps. And so, you know, in a low-key kind of way, in a very way that they know, it's kind of like I made my own little working group to enable these kinds of conversations, just see what kind of comes out. And, you know, as it becomes more refined, I want to bring it more places and have it, you know, be more of a thing that all of us can kind of be a part of. But, you know, you definitely don't have to wait until the class. But if you're nervous, that's cool. But yeah, for sure.
The party will help.
Yeah, the party will help. The party will help.
And now you have a community on this continent too.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. I took a 14-hour direct flight to come here, and I am so, every time I've been able to leave the States, you know, in my adult life, it's because of live coding, and it's such a privilege to be here with you all and get to talk about my work and share it, you know, however on the fly it may be. And so, you know, thank you all for being here and allowing me the opportunity. So, yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you. Give her some love, Roxane. Thank you so much. We will go to a short break, and then we have 2 more presentations to go. Let's see, it's now 4:03. Let's have a 15-minute break, and then we come back at 16:20. We start again, so I'll give you a few more minutes. Okay, when we're all ready. We're missing a few brothers and sisters. Where are they? Okay, that's okay. We're already gonna kick off. Everyone got a drink, a warm tea or a beer? Cheers. Yes, let's see. So for our final session, we're bringing together 3 perspectives on how to understand and map the creative coding landscape. And for that, I would love to invite 3 speakers to the stage. I'm going to introduce them one by one, and they will share some thoughts about the project that we asked them to present here. And then we take a deep dive in the work, and you can also ask questions, obviously. Do we still have some applause in our bodies? We can no, wait. I love your enthusiasm, but I will introduce them first. So the first one is actually based in this building. So he's a partner at R&DR, a computer scientist, creative coder, visual artist. Can I get a loud applause for Edwin Jakobs? Edwin, please join us on stage. You can already plug in your computer because we're going to use yours to show the projects. The second one, I haven't spotted them yet, but I hope they're in the building. She's a product designer and researcher and working together with Creative Coding Utrecht on a project that she's going to share more about, and that's Avital Barkai. Hey Avital, happy you're here. Please take a seat. Yeah, and the third one is user experience designer, lecturer and founder of Open Processing, Sinan Ascioglu. Oh, you're sitting in front of me. I already met you. Please take a seat. I have one mic to share, but that's fine, I guess, because we can't... Yeah, does it work? Eventually. Okay. So, yeah. We're going to present 3, we're going to talk about 3 projects. The first one is a creative coding map. Edwin, that's something you're going to talk about. A map of the field built from GitHub data. Then we talk about creative coding ecology, a community-driven map shared by people, practices, and shared concepts. And we're going to also talk about Open Processing, which is a social creative coding platform with over 100,000 artists, right? So many. How many? Even more? Oh, designers who use coding as a digital medium. Can I give you the mic and just give a short introduction about the map?
I'll try to.
Yeah, 5 minutes each.
Yeah, so I will just start showing the page, refresh the page. So we've made this thing, it's called the Creative Coding Map. And if you look at this, actually, you see there a bunch of legends. And in the top, you see there is tools and techniques. So what we tried in this Creative Coding Map is sort of like map out what is creative coding solely by looking at tools and techniques. That is admittedly a bit of a limited view on what is creative coding, because well, if you just look at the tools and if you zoom in a lot on the tools itself, you very quickly lose sight on what is the creative thing here. Also because there's like software that is like specifically made, or maybe even software that comes with like the definition of creative coding, but that software, actually like most software, interacts with other software, or is like built upon other software. So you very quickly see, like once you go out of this core, actually like every tool that is out there, it sort of like connects. But you don't really, at least like from what I have seen, I find it hard to see like how is this creative thing like flowing yeah, through the connections between the tools. I can give a very short demo of what this thing looks like. If you zoom in here, for example, we have organized tools in like different domains. For example, there's like a domain of graphics-based tools and techniques. So when you zoom in on it, you see like further categorizations. For example, I can click here on space partitioning, and there's a lot of movement around. And I will see here like a mix of tools and techniques. So, for example, there's KD tree, which is like a way to partition space, a bit of a technical thing. So already here, like you zoom in so much on a tool, you can't really see what this does like in the bigger picture. But the thing that we try, because we kind of model how these tools interact with each other, you can try to visualize how these tools could potentially connect. So I have something random here, like a printer, and it will find like in this network of things how a KD tree could be connected to a printer, and it will give you like a bunch of tools that you could use to get there. If you would zoom in on these results, we can get like an idea of why these things connect. So, for example, here there's actually a KD tree. Here's like a library that implements a KD tree, which is part of OpenRNDR, which is something that I made. Then here comes like a bit of a funny jump. So it says like if from OpenRNDR you export a JPEG, then with FFmpeg you can pick up that JPEG, and then you can do something with a webcam, which is hardware, and a printer is also hardware. So there you have it, problem solved. So this is like a very interesting way to see what happens in this landscape, how things connect, and actually like with this like pathfinding tool, yeah, you can do like a couple of things, right? So if you have mapped out all the tools available, there would actually be like a good way to get from one point to another. But in this case, actually like there's a lot of gaps in our data. It sort of starts like fantasizing how things could be connected. And that's like a nice way to see the gaps in your data, but it's also sometimes something that could like trigger a nice way to actually get from a KD tree to a printer. Should I go on, or I will leave it at here? I have another minute. No, I will yield my time.
Yeah. Avital, you work together with Creative Coding Utrecht on a project, also a map, right? I think we have it online as well. If you would love to show something, Creative Coding Ecologies.
Yeah, that's one is the Creative Coding, but actually the back end there is not connected at the moment. So I actually brought some screenshots.
Okay, great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I think it was 2021 when we did this project together. Actually, it was a project initiated by Stimularics Fund, and they connected us, like a designer researcher, with Creative Code in Utrecht. So we worked on mapping kind of more the community of creative coding. It's really interesting to see your project because I think we looked at it from a different angle, which is more like the people that is part of the community of creative coding. There was a lot of questions about like what is the community of creative coding, who belongs to it, what does it even mean? Do we have a community even? Like, what is it? It started from a project that Creative Coding Utrecht was already doing that is called On the Fly, that they already started kind of getting data from people. It was mostly live coding performers that they started together. Where are they from? Which tool they are using? Just to kind of start mapping out what are the people in this world are doing, what are they using, and we started off with that questionnaire that we already built for that project, and we said, okay, what if we started sending this questionnaire for more people and then get more information, which we did. Actually, I think it was the first iterations that we started collecting. Yeah, the first iterations was like I was just sitting there and collecting like people like, can you fill this questionnaire? Can you fill? So this is what we did. Like our kind of references were more like these mapping projects, online projects that like how, and it's very similar also to what you are trying to do, like how do you show connections between different entities in a map? Is it really a map? Is it like a space that we are defining as a space that we define as a map? It was a lot of questions and a lot of very, very interesting things that we dealt with, and ended up doing kind of this prototype that we just started the prototyping. I worked with 3 amazing developers, Felipe, Rafael, and Cice. And together we really experimented a lot about how we're gonna create this map. Felipe was more in charge of the database, so he was really like getting all the information that we were getting from the different, from the questionnaire, from the different people. And yeah, we just started experimenting, and also visually, we just started to see like, what is this? Are we putting it actually on a map? We also wanted it to be a tool that you can see what people are using, compare between the different tools, see visually also how things are working. And we kind of ended up with this interface that it is online right now. The backend is gone, so what's gone right now is like these particles. These particles actually represent, like you can see like this legend in the top. If it's like a maker, so it can be a person, it can be an organization, it can be a venue, it can be anything, and all of them are like clickable, and you can really see what they are doing. And then we also kind of did this way of clustering them, like are they considering themselves more live coding coders? Are they considering themselves more like in the art field, the science field? So yeah, it was kind of this it is still, but it was, I think I can show how it works, but just without the backend. So yeah, this is what's online right now. So yeah, it's not really working right now, yeah.
Actually, there is data, but it doesn't...
Yes, we didn't take care of it for a while, so this is what happens, but we have some visuals that we can show, like, and then also we did this thing that you can also just like see kind of statistics about it, like which tools people use the most, where people come from, keywords that they are using to describe their practice and stuff like that. And yeah, so yeah, this was our project.
Nice. Sinan, open processing is not necessarily a map, more of a platform, but I guess with same motivations behind it.
True. Well, the motivations came maybe more after. The initial idea was, I founded like open processing in 2008. So the idea was, oh, there's something called open source, but we don't even know how to share open source at the time. And I was learning processing, and I'm like, oh, that could be great to have these, all of these things shared. And at that time, there was no GitHub. Like the GitHub and open processing was founded in 2008, right around the same time. So the idea of open source sharing was coming and becoming something. And I was learning processing as much as you showed. It was so much fun, and it was all the projects we were creating was so beautiful. But there was no way to properly share them. So that's where the idea came from, open processing. And all of the projects, well, most of the projects are open source. So the idea is you can go click on something you like and see the code in there. Let's go into this. See the project, play around with it, you like it, but then you can just jump into the code and start changing the code. And you can just post your changes back as a fork. So it immediately self-created some sort of interest interesting type of interaction among the users, right? It's not like comments. It's not like replying or posting a photo, group photo. It's different. It's open source, but it's also quicker than GitHub. Like you are not creating a whole branch or a fork and then downloading it and making changes, pushing, merging, all of these concepts. None of it is so straightforward. So this interaction started to happen. On top of that, in I think around 2012, I launched Classroom platform on open processing, which is for teachers who are teaching coding in school using processing. So they can come to open processing, they can create a class, invite their students, and just they start creating their projects together. Teachers can give feedback and sort of. But with that also, when I first launched it, one of the goals I was really seeking for was the idea of open education. So all of these classes were also public. You could watch a teacher from NYU with their students in their class and what projects they are sharing, what kind of assignments the teacher is giving. The idea was there to also a little bit stimulate this knowledge share among teachers themselves, because this topic ultimately is very new. How do we teach this? We don't know. And like there are tons of books about how to teach calculus, but there's no book you can give it to a teacher about creative coding, right? We all had to create our own syllabuses. So the purpose of this was to stimulate that conversation. But then, of course, with that interaction, having all of this sort of a public platform, what brought me is interested in really understanding, okay, what's happening on this website? Like, how are these people collaborating with each other? And particularly, how students are collaborating with the rest of the website. And I did create, funny enough, somewhat relevant to what we have been talking about. Let's go. And I'm amazed that this project is still live. I launched it in 2018 or something. OP is... Let's see if it works. So I created a visualization. It's my own personal map for this. But the idea, yeah, the focus was more on that, was about the users. I wanted to understand how people were interacting with each other. And more importantly, yeah, I wanted to see the interaction between teachers. Like, do they interact with each other? Between students, like within their classmates, as well as students to the rest of the group. Even the rest of the people who are just here on open processing as a hobby, as an artist, do they interact with students, right? So, it created, I didn't look at this for so long. It created this though, however, beautiful level of interaction. You can hover over, you can see individual interactions and levels, etc. And but you can, we can so filter, for example, down to students. So these areas are students interacting with each other, right? As expected, those are your classmates. But also these branching outs are the most interesting ones, because those are the rest of the community. And that's very powerful to me. Just seeing all of these students coming in, but immediately they start interacting with the rest of the community was very powerful to see. And also, I hope it had a lot of impact on the education itself. But yeah, that's the URL if you want to play with it. And there are different types of also activities was interesting. Does the nature of the activity about commenting, or do they just simply follow each other? How does that interaction differ from, say, commenting? And then how do like forks work out, for example? Do people fork each other's work or not, etc. So there's a lot to dive in here and capture if you're interested. Well, students are mostly forking each other's projects. Okay, cool. So those are the ideas. But yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. I actually wanted to ask you about the importance also of mapping, but your presentations already made that pretty clear, because it's also new tools that are arising, communities that are created, new techniques that appear, and it's also giving insight, especially if you're also new to coding, give you insight in what the field looks like. But I think there's also something that the projects these projects help to understand the field itself, because you make the ecosystem visible. I wanted to ask you also, because your maps describe a field or something you're working on, but I can imagine that it also actively can shape that field in a way. How do you see that reflecting back? I mean, I think with you it's already obvious with this one, but how do you see that reflecting back in the projects that you initiated?
That's it's actually a pretty tricky one to answer, because I have the idea that like the map that I have now is one like is very much like built like from the inside out. Like I'm like in the middle of these tools and I map them out, and at some point, you want to show this like to other people, and you actually want those people to be able to learn something from it, like, or like find a place where to start. And I think like one of the things that this map could do is like not only give like a starting point, but also a starting point and a direction to go in, right?
Yeah.
So because I think when you start doing when you start with creative coding, there's maybe like the idea that there's this like a single point to start from, and that there's not really like a direction to specialize in. So I hope that I can offer that. It's like a starting point and a direction to go in, and maybe this tool will also be able to sort of show like where are the gaps, like where if you have a starting point and there's from that point it's very hard to go in a certain direction, then I hope that this could work as sort of like a discovery tool for that missing bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you see that the same?
I think very similarly. For me, I was kind of lucky because I was also the person that I was creating the map for, because I was doing creative coding since I was in university. Then I came here to do my master and did the project with CCU, and then it was very easy for me to think about the person that is going to use this, because I was also always looking for either new tools or either new connections or other people to kind of look at what they are doing. I think we wanted also to lower the level of intimidation around the field, I would say, and really show people how many people are actually consider themselves creative coders or something around it. Also, it can be like about science or about education. It doesn't have to be...
those boundaries are not always
exactly
clear,
it doesn't
right?
have to be from the art direction, which is the direction I approach it more. And yeah, just a side note, I'm very honored to be with you two, because I've been using your tools since I'm like in university, so I'm a bit starstruck. So
that also happens on stage. Yeah. I have more questions, but are there any questions from the audience or a reaction to the presentations? Hi, what is your name and what is your question?
Hi, my name is Philo. Thanks so much for the great presentations and the great maps. Thinking of the pluriverse still from the last presentation, it's nice to see so many different forms of representation. One thing that I haven't yet seen directly represented here is the dimension of time. And I'm very curious to hear from all of you actually, what have you learned through this mapping exercise about how creative coding, the landscape has developed over time?
As well as the challenges, right?
I was just waiting for you to ask this question. It is something I'm extremely obsessed about right now. Not that I have an outcome of it yet, but exactly, I've been tinkering about this for so long. Like, at what point you get even exposed to creative coding? And then what is that point that makes someone trigger? And it's like, hey, I want to do this too. I want to get, learn coding and then be creative with it. And then throughout that time, that's right now a lot of branches you can see out. It's You can jump into live coding space, and then you can, move towards music, making like strudels and other languages, or you can move towards being a Refikanadol. There's so many different branches, right? What does that journey look like over time is very interesting, because also there, like your project, when you were showing as well in the creative coding map, there are so many tools. Like, how does one navigate over time among all of these platforms is both very exciting, interesting, there's a lot going on, but in the meantime it's very challenging. Like, you need to understand what each of these things do, and how those connections are made throughout your journey is, I found it very interesting to be able to see on top of this map, for example, can I see Refik Anadol's journey throughout all these tools that they used over time, right? It could be, I think, not only it would help us to understand how their journey went, but also it could be very inspirational in a sense. They went through the same steps, right? They started somewhere, probably very likely where you are right now, and then they went through these steps. And it could be an inspiration for you to follow a similar journey or create your own, because there are now new topics. Like, for example, if there was AI, when you were presenting, sorry, there's so much was coming to me. There's so much about AI, for example, right now, right? How can I implement AI to my project? I know P5.js. Question, right? What is that connection that's going to make it to ML5.js? Hey, there's AI, there's ML5.js, and there's P5.js. There's this path you can do. And being able to see that and immediately finding a solution through such a mapping application would be very powerful.
I have always wanted to make a map that has two sides. I don't know if there's this great music map. I think it's like Ishker's guide to electronic music. And that has like a really nice map of how musical genres or electronic musical genres, how they evolved or how they react to each other. So there's like a starting point there, and it branches out to many different ways of expression. For that guide, I've always wondered, like, what is like the flip side of this? Because on the flip side, there are tools and there's techniques, right? So and that's like the thing that we can't see on that map. But now I'm making this map of tools and techniques, but we can't really see how are those tools used, and in what way did people express themselves, or even like identify themselves with those tools? Like, what?
It's almost like tools are people.
Yeah. So that's and I think in that place, there time is really there's like like a chronology. Here with in the map of the tools, I kind of left out the element of time. The only way that you can see time in here is that like some tools, they depend on other tools. So there's stuff that is built upon stuff that already exists before, but it can also be that at the moment that I looked at those tools, it has already evolved, that like one tool is building on top of another, while the tool it builds on is actually newer than the tool itself. It's possible. I just left time out here, but it's something that is incredibly interesting. But for me, like in the context of how it is used, and not so much in what tool was there first, but really in how was it used first. I think that's the thing.
Speaking of time, we still have some minutes left, but we also have a whole community program to go. Would you like to answer that question too, or fancy a question from the audience? Yeah?
Go on.
Another question from the audience? Wait, two questions. I'll give you the mic first. Hey, what's your name? What's your question?
Hi, I'm Katarina. Thank you for your presentation. Maybe to connect to the question before, what do you think are the conditions for the future of creative coding? What conditions do you need? For example, archiving digital stuff is really complicated, right? Where you see databases go down and stuff like that. yeah, and you need specific conditions. Like it's nice that it's slowly integrating into education, but also community is important. Any thoughts on that?
I think this is one of also the biggest challenges to make it sustainable, right?
Exactly. I'm coming also from a place that the master I did here is called experimental publishing. You do it in Rotterdam. And it's a lot about kind of self-maintaining technologies and also how we can decentralize it a bit and become a bit more owners of our technologies. And I do think my feeling about the community and what I got from the project is the ability to kind of preserve and to archive, and that will maybe be in a way that actually we decentralize a bit and we do use our immediate communities a bit more to share the tools and to build tools together. As they say, like there is so many tools, things are coming up all the time, especially now. You, as a beginner especially, you don't really know what to do, you don't really know what to use. I think if you are able to find yourself a community, and that's with our project, we really wanted maybe to help people find their local communities, or maybe you don't have to be local, you can also be online local, and also maybe decentralize a bit the tools.
Good question. You also had a question, right? Hey, what's yours?
Yeah, maybe not so much a question, but more of like something I just thought about. Because Roxane earlier in her talk was talking about kind of where she came from and her background and how she got into creative coding. And I think if you look at tools and kind of who started with using what tools, then you can also kind of very clearly see if someone comes from a game design background, they might use a tool totally differently than someone who comes from a live coding background. So that could also be an interesting kind of insight that you get from that. Yeah.
Extra layer.
Yeah, it's actually, if I think I can already call myself kind of a older person.
That depends. Did you still read the Yellow Pages?
Yeah, I fondly read the Yellow Pages. There was a time when like the first home computers entered our houses, and then you had like a computer and you started it up, and actually like, the only thing you could do from that point was write small programs. Even if you had a game, to start the game you had to already like write some commands to load the game into memory and then to start it. So it was already kind of like a very technical exercise. And I also I teach programming to art students, and I can see it's like a completely different approach to how to program a machine. And for me, it was like the only thing you could do on a computer. So what I'm trying to say, I think there's if you look at people from that generation of like the home computer generation, where it's like sort of like a given that you can program these things, and you had to sort of make it your own. You can clearly see that also in people's work, I think.
Yeah. I also have a question from online. It's for you, Sinan. As a creative coding teacher, your interaction map on open processing is super interesting. Is there a summary of the findings from this project? Where can I find? Can we find it?
On that map, there is that next button. I think something like that. Guide me. Can you click on that?
Can we put
There's
it
a little bit of
on the screen?
Oh, the screen doesn't show. Yeah, there's a guide me button in there. So there is a very abstract level of learnings that I had out of it. But ultimately, it requires definitely much deeper research for this. But one thing that was very exciting to see was a few years ago, some researchers from University of Washington did almost scraped all of Open Processing's fork interaction on the website, and they created a beautiful paper. I'd love to share it online, the link very soon. But that also included a lot of more academic level extractions out of the interactions on Open Processing, and that was particularly a very, very interesting read. But ultimately, I think there was the minor point that I wanted to prove with the website was there. Like, teaching in a public platform has lots of benefits, particularly to students, starting from just a set of inspiration, because every student is different. What they're going to be inspired from is very different, and that's, at least a platform like Open Processing gives them that breadth at the beginning to find something that's interesting for them. But afterwards, of course, yes, the individual interactions need definitely more research to understand how it is improving or adding to their experience overall in education, I'm sure.
Yeah. So if this teacher is interested in a project, then they will hit you up. I have a last question, because for time reasons, we still have a whole community program to go, but please feel free to approach them later on and ask your questions. The creative coding field is constantly changing, and you're already missing things in today's maps due to time or developments going fast, but also probably certain choices you made or certain bias. Still, looking into the future, if we would map this field again in, say, well, 10 years maybe too fast, too far away, 5 years, what do you think would also already need to be included that today's map miss?
I have a doom scenario.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
I wanted to end this program hopefully, right?
Yeah, well, the map will be full of AI tools. But maybe the more positive thing is, like, maybe there's like a nice reaction to machine-generated stuff, and we'll find.
And then you'll definitely
you'll find better tools to to beat that. Yeah, it's hard to. Yeah, I really don't like this idea that the map will be full of AI tools, but yeah.
Well, we have a certain influence. Oh, I didn't want to make you depressed. You need a party later on. Anyone else who would like to?
Well, maybe we can try another thing. Going like maybe 5 years back, and then from 5 years back to now. Yeah. It's also like a thing that you have definitely seen, because your first Open Processing was a Java-based platform, right? And that technology actually entirely disappeared from the browser, at least. And now we see actually because in my mapping work, I was looking at like the big creative coding frameworks, and you see that a lot of that is coming to It's like the intensity at which people work with those or on those is really lowered, and you see a lot of like stuff that's moving to the web. So that's something that's like in the past 10 years, 5 years, it has really changed. It's like the tools that people use in creative coding has really changed. I think now there's also like another pattern that is like a lot of people move to tools like Touch Designer, which I mean, to me that's still coding, but I find the sort of like the attitude towards software itself, it's kind of different. Also because Touch Designer is, I don't feel like that's made like embedded in the space of creative coding, where you have like values like open source software, it's free. Not only is it free, but it's like free for everyone to modify it, to contribute to it. So it's not, to me, it doesn't really feel like a community product. But still, like a lot of the things that we make with those tools, it is very similar. But this is also to me, a bit of like a doom scenario where we're kind of like abandoning like this this beauty of community built tools, and we exchange it for something that is maybe much easier to use.
Oh, some inspiration from panel next year, Fabian. Yeah. Sinan, what are your expectations?
My mind keeps going back to the time aspect of the story, but I am still trying to keep my optimism about AI. Learning coding becomes easier with the help of AI, and production, or at least just jumping through those bottlenecks, is becoming easier. So with that, I am expecting a little bit more people coming on board, feeling more comfortable with creative coding in general, and also creating something that is a little bit more production ready, exhibition ready, is, I think, becoming less scary.
Yeah, I think it is, because people are looking for a counter movement.
That too. Yes, so it's a the numbers are going to change in that sense. Like, I think we're going to see lots of more projects coming in, lots of more creative ideas coming in. Somehow being able to track. I think that's why the mapping projects are very important. Like, being able to track what is happening, what is this new library that got developed, and what is people are jumping onto, are people moving towards Touch Designer more because they're right now better, they learn much faster or so, or are they moving away from it? Being able to also capture those numbers are somewhat important, and I think, it goes back to individual number of people, like what these people are using right now, and being able to add to these maps, I think would be very helpful.
Yeah, it makes it easier to enter, to navigate, but also to contribute to. Yeah. Avital. Last famous words.
I won't try to, really
give us hope.
No, to be a prophet about this. I know that when I first got into creative coding, I would say 11 years ago, there was such a magic about it and such a enjoyment about it that I didn't even know that is possible, and that it can contribute to my creativity in such an amazing way. And this, I really hope, won't get lost with this, because there is such a preliminary thing that you feel when you get into it and you are trying and you are debugging, and the learning process, I really hope people will still understand the meaning of it. Maybe also it will sound very ancient in 5 years, understand the meaning of learning, but it really gave me such a nice experience, and people that I met along the way that are experiencing the same things, and also thankfully for tools that are developed, that are open source, and that everybody can use, and it really feels like a world is open up to you. I really hope that we don't lose that.
Yeah, beautiful. And for that, we will bring you the joy, because we're going to start the community program soon. So find each other, work together on things, exchange knowledge, and it almost sounds like a Miss Universe election, make the world a better place, right? The day isn't over yet. At 7 o'clock, we have the open mic wild card table. What happens there is, if you want to showcase your projects or share your work, you could do that. It doesn't need to be finished work, by the way. You can share anything you want, or maybe test something with others, and there you can just plug in your computer and show. At 8 o'clock, we have the From Scratch sessions, 9-minute live coding improv sessions organized by Netherlands Coding Live. There might still be some slots open. Are there? Oh, we don't know yet. Just ask. Who do you need to ask? Oh, ask Tima. Talk to Timo at the wildcard table. And you can also just come and watch. And then at 9 o'clock, the Algorave happens in the basement of the Grey Space. And for dinner, you can just explore the neighborhoods. We will have some snacks and drinks outside here for everyone online. Unfortunately, you have to miss those activities, but you can check in for the Algorave again at 9. So build a party in your living room. And if you still have energy left, then we also have day 2, that's tomorrow, moderated by Ash. And they will be closing that day with a lecture performance by Grayspace resident Marina Orlova, Why Robots Need Therapy. For now, I would love to give you one more big thank you from the audience. So give it up for our speakers. Are you going to join the party as well? Of course. Yeah, we need joy in our lives. Yes. And with this, I want to end day 1 of iterations, or day 2, day 3. It doesn't matter anymore. Thank you all for your curiosity, your energy, your questions, and yeah, make some last noise for everyone here. Have a fun day.